The next thing we're going to do is create a manipulator around the character's foot. Okay, so go up to the Create menu, go to NURBS Primitives, and I'm going to turn off Interactive Creation. So Create NURBS Primitives, and we're going to click on a circle, a NURBS circle. Okay, so here's the NURBS circle. It's created at the 0, 0, 0 quadrant. Move it off to the side a little bit because my move tool is turned on. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger in terms of size-wise. I want it to stick out almost like a fin from the front and the back of the foot, but I do not want it to cross over the center 0, 0, 0 line. The reason for this is because this is where what we're going to select when we want to animate the character, and so it's easier to pick up a foot when it's not touching the other foot. We don't want to move this manipulator up or down. We want to leave it at ground level, which is where it was created, because that's where the foot will land when we go to animate its walk cycle. So with it selected, I'm going to go over here and rename it. This is going to be Manip, and then this is his left foot. Okay. Once again, I'm going to go to Modify, Freeze Transformations. In doing so, this zeroes out the location of that left foot manipulator, and then let's do Control D to duplicate it. Move tool, W key, move it over to the other side, and I'm going to rename this one to right. Right foot. Okay? And then once again, because I did move it, I need to then zero out its location, so we'll go back to Modify, Freeze Transformations. Alright, so to connect these to our IK handlers, that way I don't have to select on the IK handlers, I just get to select on the actual manipulator. I'm going to start in a reverse selection chain. So I'm going to select the furthest IK handler, shift select the next IK handler, and press the P key. Okay. Then I'm going to select the second IK handler, which is the IK left ball, and shift select the ankle IK handler and press the P key for parents. Okay, click off. And then the last thing I'm going to do, because we always select the parent last, is we're going to select the IK handler around the ankle, the leg one, and then shift select the foot manipulator last and press the P key. To test it out, we're going to click off, so nothing is selected, and then select the foot manipulator and move it up and down. No joints or IK handlers should be selected. The foot manipulator will take care of that for us. Okay? So once again, we can see how it's moving around. Okay? If you ever move this manipulator out of sorts, out of place, you moved it forward, not a big deal. Because we zeroed out the transformations by using freeze transformations, I can always come over to the channel box and zero out the location, and the foot will snap back down to where it came from. Alright, let's repeat the same process on this other side. We're going to click on the last IK handler, and then shift click on the second IK handler at the ball, and press the P as in parent key. If you forget what the shortcut is, you can always go to Edit and go down to Parent down here. Okay? Alright, so we'll select the second one, the ball one, shift click the IK handler at the ankle, and again we're selecting this little brown line sticking out from them, and then press the P key for parent, and then click off, and then select the IK handler at the ankle, and then shift select the foot manipulator, and again press the P as in parent key, click off, and then to test it out, we're going to select the foot manipulator with our move tool and see that his foot moves very well. So that's how we're going to go about creating the foot manipulators. Okay? Now you'll see that when I go to move my foot, his pole vector doesn't move at all, okay, at the knee area. And so a solution to fixing that is you select the pole vector first, shift select the foot manipulator second, it's the P key, once again to parent it, click off so nothing is selected, and then as I go to move the foot now, my pole vector locator will move with it, which is pretty spectacular. When I go to animate out the character, and I want to bring that pole vector with me, as I bring my foot up in the upward fashion, maybe forward a little bit, if he has any kind of swagger to his style, I might actually move his knee in or move his knee out, etc. Okay? So I'll do that. I'll zero out my foot manipulator position to bring him back down to where he came from. Okay, so onward I go. I'm going to repeat that same process on this side. Select the pole vector first, shift select the foot manipulator second, press the P key, and once again to test it out, select the foot manipulator, and as you move the foot around, the pole vector will move with it. Alright, so now we're going to move up into the arm area right here. Again, selecting these IK handlers is challenging, okay? So we don't want to have to do that. We want to select a manipulator. So we'll go back to the Create menu, go down to Nerves Primitives, and choose Circle. The circle gets created. This time I'm going to flip over into my 4-way view. It'll save me time of trying to find out where the actual circle is located. Okay, so you can kind of see how things are progressing in all 4 directions. Okay, I'm going to give a brief rotation here. Actually, I should probably just type it in. Let's go with 90 degrees. So it's perfectly adjusted. It looks like it's right around the wrist here. If I zoom in nice and close over here, press the F key to zoom in nice and close, you will see that that ring is right around his wrist like a bangle bracelet. Okay? So once again, I can check it out in the perspective view. It's right around the wrist. You want to make sure it's large enough that it's easy to access. So if at any point you say, you know, I want it to be a little bit larger, just select your scale tool. Go with the center scale so it's nice and big, and you can click on it in that regard. Once again, the last thing to do is to connect the IK handler by selecting the little brown line sticking out from it. Shift select the ring around the wrist, and once again press the P as in parent key. So now as I move the arm, you move out, you'll see with the move tool that his arm will also bend in the different directions. Pretty spectacular, right? Alright, so let's repeat on this side. Let's see. It's too late to duplicate that. Nope. We'll select that ring that was around that wrist, bring it on down. Oops, once again, I should probably zero out the transformations. Go to Modify, Freeze Transformations. And this is the characters, Manip, M-A-N-I-P. And then this is his right, and then arm. Okay, I'll rename his left side since I forgot to do that. Manip, left, arm. Okay, so focusing on his right side, the last thing that we need to do over here for this arm is to select the IK handler first, that's the child, and then shift select the ring around the wrist, that's the parent, and press the P key. Once again, to test it out, we can click on that ring, click off so nothing else is selected first, and then give yourself a few adjustments. You see up here in the top section what it looks like. You can pull it forward and go and grab stuff, right? This is the one time we can do a rotation on our character. So we're going to rotate the wrist, that way you can pick up a product, so it'll twist his arm. And when you're all done, we can go back to our channel box and zero out any kind of movements or rotations, and it snaps his arm back into that T-style formation. Moving forward, we need to now create ourselves a manipulator for his pelvis. That way we can adjust the swagger of his hips when it comes to his walk cycle. So we're going to go to Create, Nerves Primitives, click on Circle once again. Okay, I'm going to move it up around his waist area and make it nice and big. Use that proportional scale tool right there. Okay, this is one of these things that actually, if you wanted to adjust the shape of it into something other than just a circle, for whatever reason, you most certainly could. With all of these, let's go to Show, and let's not show our joints for a minute. Turn those off, and let's go to Show and not show our polygons for a moment. So we're down to this little shape right here, which makes it pretty easy to kind of grasp onto. Oops, I didn't do that. The ring that we have right there, so I'm going to right click and go into Control Vertex. So just like any other shape that you've modified before, we can select multiple of these control vertices. We could scale these in to change the shape of it, make it bigger, make it wider, adjust the overall shape of them. Let's say we want to pull these out longer. We can move these longer. So this is going to be the controller for my hip area, basically. When you're done, go back into object mode on this ring. We can go back to show all. That'll turn back on our joints and polys. And now this is what we would grab onto to adjust his hips. If it's too big, scale down the whole shape. Make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so I'm going to call this one my manip, M-A-N-I-P, hips. Okay, and let's go to modify, freeze transformations. So that'll zero out its position. And in order for us to work with this particular controller, we're actually going to need to select on a particular joint. Okay, select parent joint and select the manipulator. Press the P key. To test it out, we're going to select that ring, and again we can bend forward. You can see how your character does a typical bend. Bends at the knees, moves up and down. Likewise, when we move up and down, if we use the move tool, we can basically have our character bend up and down, and due to those IKs that we have in his toe area, he can do some nice toe pointing and whatnot. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is create ourselves a master controller. So nerves primitive circle, there's our master controller, make it nice and big, and this will then sit at the base. It stays at the ground level, and the whole premises of this master controller is that way we can pick up the master, which will then control your whole character and we'll move with it. Okay, so let's give it a new name. We're going to call this one master. Okay, and what gets parented to the master is essentially everything. So I can select a whole bunch of stuff all at once. Now, because these pole vectors at the knees are a child to the foot manipulators, we don't need to select the pole vector locators, just the 2 foot manipulators. We also want to select his pelvis controller. We also want to select the 2 wrist controllers. And then the last thing we select is going to be the manipulator for the master controller. And we press the P key. Click off. And then when we select the master controller, we can pick up our whole character, move him up and down, and move him left and right, etc. And that is how we go about creating a master controller. Now this pelvis still moves independently. The arms still move independently. The legs still have the ability to do what they need to do. But as a master, it selects everything for us, which is exactly what we're looking for. Hopefully this video made sense on how to go through the rigging structure of your character with renamed and appropriate manipulators to gain access to your character. At this point, when we go into the next phase, which is animation, we can go into the show menu and unshow or do not show any of the joints. We can go to show and turn off all of the IK handlers. And then we basically just have our character and the controllers to manipulate for the animation sequence. And then when we're all done with that, we'll even turn off our nerves, objects, as well as our locators. And so then all we see is our character animating. Thanks for watching and have a great day.